Wait a second, that's not right. Let's try that again. Hello everyone, as you can see, I decided to change my channel name and update my channel art. I decided to change my name from Learn to Draw Manga to Love to Draw Manga because I felt like Learn to Draw Manga wasn't a good fit for my channel anymore. I do still make tutorials, but not as often as I used to. I now do many art-related things on my channel, and my name made it seem like I only make tutorials. So now I am Love to Draw Manga. But don't worry, I will still make tutorials. Anyways, let's start drawing some gacha characters. If you want to know how to submit your character, all of the info is in the description. Also, I made some changes to the rules, so if you have submitted a gacha character or original character to me before, please check out the description. I'll be drawing 3 characters in this video, so let's see who I'm drawing first. This first character was created by Sakura Bear on Amino. The character's name is Irene Hatsune. Irene is happy most of the time and acts kinda like a child. She loves Paki. So let's start drawing Irene. So like in my previous video where I draw your gacha characters, I'm going to be starting by showing you the line art phase of the drawing. I don't show the sketching phase because it will make the video a lot longer, so we're starting with the line art. When I heard that Irene really likes Paki, I thought it'd be really fun to draw her eating Paki. If you don't know what Paki is, it's kind of like a little cookie biscuit stick thing, and it's covered in chocolate, and it's really good. I really like Paki, so I recommend trying it if you can. It's really good. So I drew Irene kind of from the bust up, and she's holding some Paki, and it kind of has a bite taken out of it, and I drew her mouth kind of like it has some food in it, and yeah, she took a bite of the Paki. I really enjoyed getting to draw Irene. She is super cute and I love her outfit. I really like her hat. Her hat was a lot of fun to draw. I don't get to draw characters with hats very often, so that was kind of a fun change. Also, during the sketching phase, I had a really hard time drawing her hand that's holding the Paki. I drew it so many times, but I finally ended up with this pose, and I kind of like this pose. Also, I am using the rough pencil tool for the line art. I used this in my last I Draw Your OC video, and it just kind of gives the line art a slightly softer feel. And since Irene's colors are so soft and pastel, I kind of wanted to make the line art kind of soft as well. So after finishing the line art, I did the base coloring. Like I mentioned, Irene's colors are super soft and pastel-y, and I really like them. So for the shading, I didn't make it super harsh, or I didn't use any super crazy colors. I just kind of kept it kind of soft and a little bit more muted. Right now I'm going around and I'm adding cell shading. This kind of just helps me get an idea for where I want the harder shadows to appear. And now I'm going in and adding more soft shading. I use the soft airbrush tool when doing this. When coloring the skin, I like to add bits of pink in the picture just because I feel like it makes the skin look a little bit more lively. And she also has really rosy cheeks. I did consider using actual ovals like on the Gacha character, but I decided to just give her super strong blush on her cheeks. Then I added a little bit of shading to her shirt, nothing super fancy here. Just added some shadows and some highlights. And now I'm starting to add some more detail to her hair. I used my new soft shading style for shading her hair. So I apply the colors and then I'll blend them out with the blending tool, and this just kind of makes them really soft because the blending tool kind of gives them a softer edge. And I also added some gradients for the highlights and also for the shadows. Irene is super duper cute though, and her eating Paki made me really want to eat Paki. Like I want to go to Walmart and buy some Paki. It makes me really want Paki. Now I am coloring her eyes, and this was a little bit different. This time I'm trying to copy the eyes of the Gacha character. Usually I'll kind of change the eyes to be in my style a little bit more. But this time I thought it'd be fun to kind of directly copy the eye style of the Gacha character because it would kind of change things up a little bit, and I've been kind of wanting to experiment with different eye shading styles. And so for Irene, she doesn't have a pupil, it's just a gradient, and then she has a bunch of eye shinies. And then lastly I added a subtle pattern to the background just to make it a little bit more interesting and fun. So here's the finished picture of Irene. Thank you so much, Sakura Bear Bear, for submitting your gacha character. I had a lot of fun drawing her. So now let's move on to the second character. This next character was created by Moon Girl. Her name is Mayumi. She loves reading and writing her own stories. She has been bullied in the past because of the color of her eyes. She ignores the bullies, but when she's sad, she likes to sit in the library and write a story. So let's start drawing Mayumi. So Mayumi likes to go to the library and write stories. So she's in a library, but I have her looking out the window and we'll be outside kind of looking into the window. And I thought this might be kind of fun because I can kind of draw a library background, but I don't have to draw like this huge library. And we can also get the idea that she's looking out the window. So yeah, that was my concept for this picture. And I drew her happy because I thought maybe this was after she writes a story. So she went to the library because she was sad, but then she wrote a story and that made her happy. So now she's feeling happier and she's looking out the window and smiling. For Mayumi's pose, I kind of have her slouching and resting her head on her hand. I wanted her to look kind of relaxed and like she was enjoying sitting in the library. I had a lot of fun drawing her hair. I was trying to think a lot about the motion and how her slouching and kind of leaning forward was affecting it. And yeah, her hair was a lot of fun to draw. So next I'm trying to outline the frame for the window, and to do this I used the perspective rulers in Clip Studio. The perspective rulers are really helpful when you want to draw background elements, and I use them pretty often when working on my comic because they make drawing backgrounds quite a bit easier for me. I just kind of draw some different square and rectangle shapes for the window. I also have some sketch lines in the background for the bookshelves, but I'll be doing those in color because I'm going to be heavily blurring out the background so I don't have to go into a bunch of detail. We'll get the idea that it's a library in the background, but it's not going to be super detailed and it's going to be really blurred out. Also for the chair, the table, and the books, I used 3D models in Clip Studio, and then I used this function that outlines the 3D things. So I didn't draw the chair, the table, and the books. I just used 3D models for those to kind of make things a little bit quicker. Because like I mentioned, I have to go kind of fast when I'm drawing all of these characters in one video. So I try to find ways to make things go a little quicker. So after finishing the line art, I move on to the coloring. I also added a tree in the foreground because I thought it'd look kind of nice. I start by adding a gradient of yellow and a gradient of purple just to give an overall effect to the picture and to kind of give me an idea of where the lighting's coming from. I wanted it to be sunset, so kind of later in the day. So she probably came to the library a little bit earlier in the day, and then she spent quite a bit of the day in the library, and now it's sunset and it's all pretty outside. So like with my previous picture, I'm starting out by adding some cell shading just to give me an idea of how I want the shadows to be. And now I'm going in and adding more gradients to the picture. I started by shading her hair, and this time I decided to go more with my standard hair shading style. I'm still trying to figure out my soft hair shading style. So to make things go a little quicker, I decided to go with more of my standard shading style, which is to use the brush tool and then draw a whole bunch of lines, and then I'll kind of erase the ends later. And I apologize if you can hear that noise that's coming from outside. Next, I'm starting to add the highlights to her hair, and overall, I had a lot of fun shading her hair. So next, I'm starting to add some more shading to her clothing, trying to define the shape of the wrinkles and the form of her body a bit more. The lighting situation in this picture slightly confused me because the lighting's coming from like the upper right and a little bit in front of the window, but the lighting's also coming from the window for her. So I wasn't totally sure how to make the lighting play out in the picture, because it's like the lighting's coming from above, but then it's also coming through the window, so then it's different because it's coming from the window, and it was just kind of confusing. Next, I'm starting to work on her eyes, and like with the last picture, I was trying to mimic the style of eyes in this drawing. And so her eyes are very interesting. It's like darker around where the pupil should be, and it gets lighter where the pupil should be, and then it kind of has this band of highlight along the bottom. It was kind of fun to experiment with. Next, I'm starting to work on the shelves in the background, and for all the books I used this book brush that I found online, and I made a whole bunch of lines of books, and then I added some gradients of shading to give everything a little bit more depth in the background. And then lastly, I put everything onto one layer, and then I used Gaussian blur. I never know how to say it, I should look it up. And then I blurred out the background to make it so that we kind of get an idea that there's a background back there, but not a ton of attention is drawn to it because it's blurred out. Next, I'm adding a reflection of the sky into the window, and I was really excited for this part because it makes the window look kind of shiny and let us kind of see what she's looking at. So I used one of the sky backgrounds in Clip Studio, and then I applied it to the window, and then I erased parts of the sky. So I erased it kind of towards the bottom, and I erased some diagonal lines in it, and then I also added some brighter areas for highlights, and that made the window look kind of shiny. And like I mentioned, it kind of lets us see what she's looking at from the reflection in the window. I had a lot of fun doing that part. Lastly, I'm just kind of finishing up the background, so adding a little bit more shading to the window and some more detail to the tree. For the tree, I add some lines of highlight, and then I kind of just add some highlights on the edges where the light's coming from. So here's a finished picture of Mayumi. Thank you so much, Moon Girl, for submitting her. I had so much fun drawing her. So now on to the last character. So this character was created by I Am Bread Editor. The character's name is Katie. Katie is a hybrid of a cat and a dragon. She likes being with friends, making funny videos, arm wrestling, and electronic devices. So let's start drawing Katie. Oh, by the way, these characters are randomly picked. I did not pick these myself. They are randomly picked. And so when Katie was randomly picked, I was kind of intimidated by her design because it has so many details in it. And I was like, oh my goodness, am I going to be able to do all these details? And so for Katie's pose, it says that she likes to make funny videos and that she likes electronic devices. So I thought it'd be kind of cute if I had her filming herself with her phone, and maybe she's being a little playful and kind of looking at the phone and kind of posing like maybe she's making a funny video. And so for her, I decided to do a full body pose. And for her pose, I was trying my best to make it kind of interesting. I just recently did a video about drawing action poses, and I felt like I learned quite a bit in that video, and so I was trying to apply what I learned in that video to this pose. And so I have her rib cage turning a different way than her hips, and I also really tried to think about the line of action in her pose. So I hope her pose looks a little less stiff than my poses usually do. I hope it looks more interesting. But by far, this picture took the longest to draw because it is a full body picture, and like I mentioned, her outfit had so many details, but I had a lot of fun drawing all the different details of her outfit. I had a lot of fun with her sleeves. Oh, and here I'm working on her hand that's holding the phone. That was kind of tricky. I was struggling with the foreshortening of the arm that's coming towards us and also the hand quite a bit. But I'm really happy with how the hand holding the pop socket turned out. I feel like it looks like she's holding it. So I'm happy with how that turned out. Also, I decided to slightly alter her outfit. I hope that's okay. She's wearing really short shorts and like a really short shirt. So I decided to lengthen both of those a little bit. I hope that's okay. But I really liked drawing her outfit. It's so cute. I really love her legging tight stocking things and how they have the little cat ears on the top. And I also had a lot of fun drawing her wings. I don't draw dragon wings very often, but they were a lot of fun to draw. Her hair is also super duper long, so that was a lot of fun to add the motion with the hair. So after finishing the line art, I move on to the base coloring. And I'm starting off by adding a little bit of cell shading. This time I'm making the cell shading kind of a funky color. I made it kind of magenta-y pink. I wanted to make the shading kind of fun and colorful, so I used kind of a brighter color than what I usually use. I usually use kind of like a muted reddy purple, and it's kind of really muted, but this time I made it be a little bit more vibrant and kind of fun. Now I'm starting to add more of the shading to her skin, and now I'm adding the soft shading. So I'm just kind of going around with my soft brush tool with kind of a peachy pink color. And I also added quite a bit of shading to her back leg because I wanted to kind of push that leg into the background a little bit more. So I added a lot of shading on the left leg. Now I'm moving on to shading her hair, and her hair took me a really long time to shade because like I mentioned, her hair is super long, but I also had a lot of fun shading her hair. For this I used my camera battery died, so I'm not sure what I was saying, but I had a lot of fun shading her hair, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I don't know, I just feel like it turned out kind of nice. Just the way the lines flow and how the form of the hair looks. Yeah, I'm really happy with how her hair turned out, and I had a lot of fun shading it. Next, I'm moving on to shading her clothing, and there was a lot of black to shade. I feel like since starting this I Draw Your OC series and this I Draw Your Gacha series, I end up shading a lot of black somehow. Like I don't feel like I ever had to shade black very often before this. But since starting this series, I've had to shade black clothing quite a lot. But thankfully that means I feel like I'm getting better at shading black clothing. It was always something I kind of had a hard time doing, but since I've been having to do it so often now, I feel like I'm kind of improving at shading black. I had a lot of fun shading her outfit and adding all the different wrinkle details and getting to shade all the different details. I feel like the shading on her shorts turned out kind of nice. I like how the shading on her shorts turned out. I feel like it kind of shows the form of her legs, and it kind of looks like it has some form to it, so I'm happy about that. I also add all of the shiny bits to the gold pieces on her outfit. Next, I'm adding more shading to her phone, and I added a tiny little skull on her pop socket because she has like a little skull tattoo on her face. And so I decided to add one to her little pop socket just to make it a little bit more interesting. Oh, also I changed the color of her gloves. I hope that's okay. Originally they are black, but I decided to make them the same color as her stockings because with her wings being the black and her hands kind of being lined up with the wings, her hands were kind of blending into everything, and so I decided to change the color of her gloves. I hope that's okay. Next, I'm adding some more shading to the different details of the picture, like her stockings and the bow on her tail. I had a lot of fun shading her tail and the bow. I don't draw bows very often, but I always find them really fun to shade. Next, I'm starting to shade her eye, and to shade her eye, I did a lot of overlays over all the different parts of her eye because there's a lot of different little details. So I kind of just kept applying gradients to her entire eye. Her shoes were really fun to draw. I had fun adding the laces to it. Lastly, I'm just kind of applying some finishing gradients to the picture, and I also add a drop shadow behind her just to make her kind of pop out from the background. So here are the pictures I drew in this video. Thank you so much to Sakura Bear Bear, Moon Girl, and I Am Bread Editor for submitting your gacha characters. They are all so unique and cool, and I had so much fun drawing them. Well, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!